I was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
And I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
I'm Tony Russo, no relation. I was looking at a different screen and I'm like, oh my God, did we turn off? For those of you watching in video, or actually even for those of you listening, that silence was an unplanned silence. This is Day Drinking at Delmarva, a podcast about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula, where Todd and Tony do their marketing therapy, social media marketing therapy, something like that. We'll get
something
there,
like that. I like it.
We've got lots of cool stuff to talk about this week. The Destination Delmarva really is going to launch before you hear another show from me.
Okay.
Before you hear another show from us, actually, it'll be after you hear another show from me, but before you hear another show from Todd. And,
okay.
It is all set. I got called away on business for this weekend, which, I would love to tell you about. But before that, we were planning to plan the show, and then we started talking about something really cool, and we didn't want to lose the thread. So Todd took a video a couple weeks ago, and let's start there. What was your video? What was the presentation?
So the Freeman Arts Pavilion that we've done work for a number of years, often bring it up on the show. They have a arts in education program that has been in schools for a number of years. So they bring, they brought the poet laureates from Delaware, the twin poet laureates, and they did a presentation about poetry at some of the Delaware high schools. And we were there, we filmed them, we got some interviews, stuff like that. Then we talked about it on the show, and we talked about how much Tony loves poetry.
By the way, and then he loves poetry, but that's okay. I get a bad rap.
Yeah.
It's not my fault that everyone who has a pen can call themselves a poet. I mean, and I know. I'm sorry. Don't get me wound up. Let's continue.
Let's continue. So this arts and education program, they had an idea to expand it to more adult education. And back in the fall, if you had listened, Natalie and I gave a talk to a panel of our peers. Some friends showed up to support, but also some folks from the Bayside community and surrounding area, just to find out what we do in terms of, learn the telling stories through pictures. See, this is where we work the commercial in too. It's so we gave a nice presentation about that, and we took and it was a great exercise for us and that sort of thing. Flash forward to a week ago, we were back at Freeman Stage, this time in the working capacity, as we often are, to film the art and psychology of magic. And they had this wonderful musician. I'll make sure that Tony has it for magician. Make sure that Tony has the name for the show notes. But it was, it was a great talk of a guy who is well accomplished and a talented magician, and then he did a couple tricks, and then he kind of showed some tricks, and then he talked about the psychology behind it. And one of the things, and he shared some stats, and this is why I wanted to jump into the show. He shared some stats about magic, and it was interesting to hear, like, the percentages of people who like certain types of tricks, the percentages of people who like magic because of they want to be amazed, the percentage of people who like magic but are want to figure it out. And then the people who just want to spoil it for everybody else. So my question to you, Tony, is: what end of the amazement to spoil on that spectrum? What end do you fall closer to?
I'm way closer to amazement than I am to spoil. I know that unless I already know how to do the trick. I like magic, so I
Yeah.
don't ever try to figure out how they did it. I mean,
Yeah.
in your head, you're always wondering. Like, there's a difference between saying, "I wonder how he did it," and "I wanna figure out how he did it." And I
Yeah.
know I
Yeah.
can't figure out how he did it. So
Right.
but I love and for me, I prefer close-up magic every day
Yeah.
to, to like, I fine, make the Statue of Liberty disappear, lock yourself in glass for 6 months, whatever these people do on
Right.
television. It's fine. I like the close-up magic. I like you cut a person's head off, but it doesn't come off, right? I like lock the lady in the box, the lady's gone from
Mhm.
the box.
Yeah.
I like that kind of just regular stage magic, nothing huge and grand, things that
Yeah.
are small. And that is why I asked you if Rich Block was the guy. I'm sorry, so what kind of person are you, though?
I'm definitely amazement. And one of the things that surprised me is uh it sounds like the majority of the sample size at least likes, so the most popular is the mind reading stuff. I'm not much into the, you know,
Well, that you see, I know too much about that. Like, I know too much about the cold read
yeah,
for it to like, I don't get any pleasure out of that. It's
yeah.
I know that is it's a different kind of trick. I like the sleight of hand, you know?
That's I'm very much card and coin tricks, and that's, and both of those ranked lower, and that surprised me. In the middle, towards the upper end, was the make an elephant disappear kind of stuff that you're talking about, and that's and yeah, same. That's not really my bag. But what's fun about seeing this live and then having, somebody talk about it, like he started off the program, and he said, anybody can do a trick, right? I've learned a couple card tricks over my day because it's fun. You get the
Yeah.
right person, you get the right environment, you can get some people to kind of shake their head and try to figure out what's going on. But uh but his contention, his point was that, yeah, anybody can do a trick, but it takes real practice and real skill to become a magician, because it is about so much more than just, the actual sleight of hand.
Right,
Um,
it's the patois,
yeah, yeah,
patter, the talking and the mood that you set because the trick is only the trick is only good if I like you. Like, if I don't like
right,
you, then it's just a magic trick.
yeah,
Anybody can go to a magic shop and buy a magic trick and learn how to do it, right? So
yeah.
that's not as much fun.
And it's funny because I almost had some like business takeaways from that. Like one of the things he said, and our friend Molly, who's at the stage, introduced him, and he's done a lot of work at the stage, so they've known each other for a number of years. And it is entirely, or it is very intentional that when somebody introduces him, it gives the list of accomplishments, and it's like the enjoyment goes up when it's not just like, "Oh, here's Larry who's gonna come out and do some tricks for you." It's
Mhm.
like he's been on the Today Show. He's worked with Penn and Teller. You mentioned Harry Anderson with the Rich Block, and I like that kind of feeds into the experience, and you're like, "Oh, okay, this guy's legit." And then then you're like more sucked in and somehow more susceptible to knowing that, all of those hand motions he's doing are, you know, intentional, or very intentional to distract you, but like you're still like wrapped up and seeing where things are going.
Yeah, the notion of being, like, caught up in it is really what I like,
Yeah.
and, I haven't so you mentioned Rich Block, I haven't been to the Dickens Parlor Theater yet. I tried to go once for a story and could not find it because it was late at night and it's in, like,
Oh
Ocean
no.
View, and it was dark. It was Kelly and I don't know if we were even married, I think we may have been dating, and I was gonna cover something because Piper Laurie was coming. Piper Laurie is a famous actress. She died not too long ago. Um, but she was in a bunch of movies. If you saw her, you would know who she was. But he is like this world-class magician that has this theater. So he, like, works Vegas and the circuit and all that, and I remember Penn and Teller coming, and I remember Harry Anderson coming, but again, this is at the turn of the century. This is when I was first starting at the Bayside
Right.
Gazette. So, I
Right.
mean, Harry Anderson was still a huge name, but, and Penn and Teller, they're huge names, but they also were coming to the Dickens Parlor Theater. And so I've never been. It's like it's a house. It seats like 18 people or 30 people. And
Right.
it's a small theater. But what I what appeals to me about it, and one of the things that if I had a skill like that, that is the kind of thing that I would like to do. There's a comedian, his name is Doug Stanhope. Do you know who Doug Stanhope is?
I don't recognize that.
He's an old, not an old time comedian, but he's been a comedian for a long time. Ever blah 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 blah. He lives in Arizona, and he turned his garage into a comedy club.
Oh,
You know,
really?
so he's famous enough that he has comedy friends who will come by, and it's in Bisbee, Arizona. And, yeah, you know where no,
Yeah.
nobody knows where Bisbee,
No.
Arizona is. It could be Bisbee, New Mexico for all I know, but I feel like it's Bisbee, Arizona. And he has, famous comedian friends, and he's a famous comedian himself. So he can get these great acts who come by and they can do whatever they want. And I feel like the Dickens Parlor Theater has been like that, where, Rich Block is this world-class magician who has these world-class connections. So people passing through on their way to New York or from New York or whatever,
Right.
Philadelphia,
Right.
will come by and and do sets. It's very much
Yeah.
like that. So, but I've lost track of the Dickens Parlor Theater since I've stopped working at the Bayside Gazette, and I hadn't thought of it today until we were trying to figure
Until we
out
brought this up.
the name of the magician that was
Yeah.
at the Freeman stage with you.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, it's just great, and again, just another one of the great like extra performances that they're doing over there to yeah, to keep something different arts wise alive.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, that I'm hoping to do when we finally do get Destination Delmarva launched, is stories on, like, you should have known, like the Dickens Parlor Theater off the top. You're like, that's one of those, like, kind of hidden gems that
Hmm.
people just miss out on for no reason other than that they don't know. For my part, I was in New Jersey. I got a last minute assignment. I am a ghostwriter now, a professional ghostwriter, because people pay me. That makes me professional. Everyone knows that.
Do you get paid in ghost money?
I get paid in ghost money, but it disappears pretty damn quick. Waka waka waka. um, but somebody, I guess, fell off the story. Nope. I put the word out there that I'm willing to go to New Jersey, because there's kind of the bonus for driving to New Jersey isn't much.
Right.
But I get to stay with my mom, so it's like an excuse to go see my mom and make a couple extra dollars, and then I get to do these books. And I can't, for obvious reasons, tell you much about the book, but it made me think, talking to this woman, um, who's doing this memoir, made me think about the movie Free Guy, and it made me completely
Oh,
reevaluate what I've done for a living. So you're familiar with the movie Free Guy?
the recent one
Yes, it's Ryan
with
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not familiar, there is the premise is that a non-playable character in a very popular video game like Grand Theft Auto becomes
Yeah.
sentient and starts running
Yeah.
around and playing the game, and he's very good at it because he's part of the game and all these things. And one of the many questions is, should we be shooting non-player characters for no good reason? Blah 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 blah. Non-playable characters for no good reason. Um, I'm writing the story for all of those background characters.
Oh,
when I
really?
when I do these memoirs. This woman, um, she was 15 when she started bartending in the Bronx, as you
Oh, wow.
do.
It's either that or go work in the mines, right?
The mines is a kind way of putting it. Um, but, but she was getting all this money because she was this 15-year-old bartender,
Yeah.
and she was, very, um, good looking, kinda.
Yeah.
And she talked about, like, going to, like, Studio 54, at the time, it's 1978, just really
Mm,
just doing the thing. And I pictured her, like, in the background, like, Scarface pushes past her to get into
right.
Studio 54 or whatever, all of these people that are in the background of these movies. I'm writing their stories, and this is the story of, this hot young thing whose life eventually spun out of control, but he
Yeah.
just got walked past and this, and I have a couple of stories like that already. And
Yeah.
even the work that I did, like, at the Bayside Gazette or even the things that I'm doing now with the Pines cast.
Mhm.
Please listen and subscribe to the Pines cast if you're in Ocean Pines.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, but if you're not in Ocean Pines, it's for Ocean Pines people. That's, unless you
Right.
love the sound of my voice. Once you've listened to all of the Toddcasts and all of the
This sounds
funeral and all of the
yeah.
funeral stuff, and you're like, "You know what I really need to hear? I need to hear Tony
More
talk
Tony.
to the Anglers Club about their fishing fundraiser." Then, yeah,
Yeah.
swing over to the podcast, and you can hear about that. But this idea of talking to people who are kind of in the background of, like,
Mhm.
the regular life that make up that make the stories richer.
Mhm.
And I never saw it that way, but now that I see it that way, I can't unsee it that way. And
I don't know if you have come across, the commercial series that Tide laundry detergent has been doing in association or partnership with, like, the Marvel movies that are coming out.
oh, no, I haven't.
And it's actually brilliant, and it's twist on kind of what you're talking about, but you know, I hate that I pay attention to commercials, but also when they're done well, I feel like it's funny.
That's the
One, it's
point, yeah.
Marvel. Okay, so they already got, something on me. So basically the premise of the commercial is when, the Hulk throws a hot dog cart across the city and it smashes against the wall and there's like business people on the sidewalk. They all get splattered with ketchup and mustard. And they're like, or like people just standing at the bus stop where this city is being, destroyed around them, and they're like, "Oh, how are you gonna how are you gonna get this ketchup and mustard out?" You
That's
know?
great.
And it's like, "Oh yeah, Tide will take care of it." I mean, it's cute, but it is that sort of funny, like those background characters being a part of something.
I think I might be done with Marvel. I can't imagine going to see the
What's
new
next?
Doomsday cartoon. The
Yeah,
Doomsday? They announced it, I guess,
Doomsday.
this week. Um,
Yeah.
it's got everybody who's ever seen a Marvel movie. I'm the only person I know that's not in the movie. So,
And you're a Russo too, like,
yeah, I'm the only Russo brother who didn't make it. But, yeah, so I think there have been a lot of people complaining, and I have been not really among them, but I'm sympathetic to the whole, like, no new movies are gonna get made as long as only 2 people own all the IP,
mhm,
you know?
yeah,
And fine, yes, sure. Well, then you gotta cancel your Disney Plus subscription. I mean, I don't know what you want
yeah,
from me. You can't go to every Marvel movie and also complain that they're not making
right,
anything new and interesting,
yeah,
And, so I'm kind of removing myself from that. And as I say that, there are 2 movies coming out that I'm very interested in seeing. The
yeah,
first they're both, based on Stephen King books. The first is The Running Man, which is being directed by Edgar Wright, and should be a masterwork.
Yeah.
Because it's a good story, and I think he's going to tell it well. And the other one is The Long Walk, which are both kind of Bachman book type stories. That
Yeah.
they're kind of second tier Stephen King, and that's what people have been saying. Like, they're remaking second tier Stephen King movies, rather than just because they own them.
Right.
Um, and that I can see, I can see that as a problem. As someone who tries to make new things, like no one's ever going to make anything I write into a movie. While they're remaking Odysseus, the Odyssey,
Oh, yeah.
which is like the first story. Like there are
Right.
like
Right.
12 there are like 12
It-
Bible things on television now,
I
like
mean, it
like
isn't the Odyssey essentially what people use as the hero's
yeah,
journey
yeah,
for like
exactly.
every like it's the baseline of all story. Yeah, right.
Exactly. And they're remaking they're remaking the Odyssey
And the
into
reason they use that is because everybody knows the story already, right?
no, because they don't have to pay for it. That's why they
Oh,
that's why
yeah,
that's
because it's
why
out
they
of yeah,
turned David and Goliath into an action movie on the television.
yeah,
Um and it's because they don't have to pay for it. Anything they don't have to pay for, they wanna make into a movie because they can put
yeah.
bigger stars in it if they don't have to pay the writers. As a writer, I'm not thrilled with that kinda.
I saw this the other day to interject, and
No,
maybe
please.
this is hopeful, and maybe we'll look into this more. But it perked my interest. The the video sharing platform Vimeo, or
Mhm,
if you're familiar. Um, I don't know if I feel like it was always like the little more, like the artsy version of YouTube, in that it's like where if you're a wedding videographer, like that's where you put your wedding videography because everything displays in ultra HD. It's like it doesn't dumb stuff down, and there's very little advertising. It's a much cleaner space.
mhm,
Um, and what I saw the other day that I want to look into is that they are planning on creating essentially a Netflix channel or an app that you can access through, all the streaming services where you'll be able to promote your own video channel. So like I think they're trying to bridge that gap of, young, small, not necessarily young, small studio uh, storytelling to a larger platform like streaming television,
mhm.
um, and not that is not algorithm, based or something like that. I don't know. I'll look into that more. I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
raising questions. I'm not answering questions.
that's fine. It's for me, I had a really tough moment this week when because I do that weekly video for work. It's called In Case You Missed It, from Kate Spoilston, and it's a weekly funeral news program.
Mhm.
Um and the podcast version, the audio version isn't just doing very well, it's growing pretty well. And the YouTube just nothing. It's just nothing. And the watch time is I think YouTube, I think increasingly, I mean, I'm not gonna stop making video. We're putting this on
Yeah.
video, we'll conti but I think increasingly video is for people with unreasonably short attention spans. Like, if you're not if it's not a movie in a movie theater, it better not be more than 78 seconds long because people
Yeah.
just flip over. They're like, "Okay, okay, okay."
I mean,
Like I said
78 seconds, like 15 is like,
now yeah, like I said, the best sentence I've written all day, I kill it on YouTube. Kill
yeah,
it, kill it,
yeah.
kill it, kill it. But like any of my like I'm gonna put this series out that I'm doing on YouTube and it's gonna do poorly. And I
Mm,
know it is. I'm there in the same way that I used to be on Facebook. And it's like, well, you have to be there. And I can't be on Facebook anymore. I can't
yeah.
justify it. I mean, I go over there to post things, and then I have to spend the rest of the day trying not to have a nervous breakdown. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, and as we've said a lot on this show, long form belongs to podcasts, and Substack seems to be a great. Who did I see that just somebody else just joined Substack? Musician or something?
Oh,
Anyway,
it's yeah, so all of us old timers like me, or like now the famous people are showing up,
yeah, yeah,
and they're like, it's tough. I mean, I have actually so there are two things that are happening over at Substack. I'm not thrilled with either of them, but I'm very accepting of both of them. The first is that, yeah, the famous people are showing up in a big way.
yeah.
Because again, this idea of owning your audience is something that, you know,
It's the
no one else is
OnlyFans
built to do.
model, right? I mean,
It
I mean, it's
it Even better than OnlyFans because you have their email address. That
yeah,
email address is huge. You don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
to wait for them to log on, even if they don't pay you. If you have their email address, like I said, I actually just got a new paid subscriber. Thank you very much if you're listening to this as well. Um,
Thank you.
but the paid subscription, the more famous people, and I'm sorry, they also added Reels or a Reels type thing. I
Mm,
haven't even messed with it, so I don't even know what that is, and I'm not going to. What I do wanna say is anything that keeps them from having to add advertising is okay with me. So, like,
yeah,
if
yeah,
they need
yeah.
to have, well, I probably not Joe Rogan, but somebody, I'm trying to think of a famous person but if they need to have a famous person move over there, so that they can get more money and not need to sell advertising, then that's fine with me. Like, as long
That's
as
good for everybody.
once they're sending my people advertising, I'm gonna piss and moan is actually all I'm gonna be able to do because I'm kind of sold out into Substack at this point.
Yeah.
But, one would hope, and the other thing is I don't get a lot of traction on Substack because I'm not promoting a paid subscription, and that's one of the
Mhm.
kind of gaps that's gonna have to be dealt with is, visibility is going to be tied. Like, people are like, "No one sees my posts," but it makes sense to tie visibility to people who are trying to monetize the site. Like,
Mhm.
why should Substack say, you know, "Read Tony Russo," even though he isn't earning any money for anybody, including himself. He
Yeah.
can get discovered on his own, but, this person over here has monetized their site and they're doing a good job and they're getting a lot of people to come on. So we're going to try to get more people because the more they make, the more the creators make, the more Substack makes. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about that model, even though I'm not one of the creators making a lot of money on Substack.
Right. Yet.
Yet. Yes. Who knows? We're gonna launch. I'm telling you, Destination Delmarva gonna be a big deal. And this new so I came up with a new plan, and I invite you all to subscribe to Object History. Kelly has done the cover art. I will
Oh,
launch that
fun.
podcast next week sometime. And the recording method that I've used is I tell the story for a little while and then I stop. And so I do like 2 or 3 sentences at a clip, but I was very happy with it. I've worked on it all day today, so I really worked on
Uh-huh.
it for, like, 5 or 6 hours today, but it's good, and
Yeah.
and the I didn't I didn't script it. I knew what I wanted to say, and I just took the time to say it slowly, and if I had to stop and think, I stopped and think, but you can't hear it because after 20 years, I'm pretty good at editing audio.
Yeah. Not to brag.
Not to brag. So I'm very excited for it. Object History: Searching for Oscar season 1 will
Cool.
launch on April whatever 15th, 12th, whatever next Tuesday is. That's when I'm gonna. Well, what's 8 plus 7? 15th. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yep.
start launching, and that'll come out on Tuesday. So on Monday you can listen to Funeral Service Inside of the Podcast. On Tuesday you can listen to Object History. On Wednesday, you can listen to Brief Introduction. On Thursday, you can listen to Day Drinking on Delmarva. And on Friday, you can listen to the In Case You Missed It podcast. So that
I
is
love it.
a full 5 hours of Tony Russo talking every week.
That's I mean, some people like the next step is just to have you be a streamer and just get on and talk for hours at a time
The
every
next
day.
step is to find someone to write me a goddamn check. All of those are free
Yeah.
for you to watch and listen to. Um, the last thing about Substack real quick is people are adding their buy me a coffee to Substack, which is
Mm.
something that I probably will do because I'm not producing yet for my own personal one, not for the Destination Delmarva, but for my own personal Substack. I'm not producing enough, I think, to justify a subscription for a lot of people, a paid subscription, except for people who just like the 6 or 7 people who are paying because like they're like patrons. They're like, we like what you
Yeah.
do. Whenever you do your stupid stuff, we want to
We
encourage you to
support it.
continue to do your unprofitable
Yeah.
bullshit, you know.
Mhm.
But if somebody's like, you know what, yeah, here's $5. Thank you. That was worth a small donation. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do with Substack, and you can catch me at by Tony Russo on Substack. Um, and that is all I got. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, remember until next time at the beach.
It's happy hour whenever you say it is.